So today we want to talk about why preppers fail and kind of look at the differences between a prepper, a survivalist, and a homesteader. And in my opinion and experience over many years, the best mix and most successful are the survivalist homesteaders. And the reason is it's a combination of skills that provides the life support. Because if you look at these people like Blackscoutsurvival, and they push hard to kill as his motif and his branding, when in actuality, if you follow what he's doing and you don't see survival from the big picture, it actually makes you easy to kill. So when we look in depth, we look at Canadian prepper, we look at city prepper, and a lot of the others, there are several main reasons why their survival plans fail and they don't actually suit the majority of people. The first problem is people trying to outsource their survival to other people, other groups, and commercial entities. So you see this in a lot of the big channels where they're doing consultations and they bring in these experts that really have very limited expertise or none at all. And what you learn over a lifetime is if you can build and maintain and modify most of the systems that provide your life support, then that gives you the knowledge base that you can build, rebuild, reconfigure, and maintain into the future. The people that outsource these things, for instance, if they're outsourcing the plumbing of filtration systems on their water, if they're outsourcing to contractors the building of structures, painting of structures, and so forth, then they're not developing the skill sets. If you actually build the things, it gives you much more insight on how to maintain them. And over 20, 30 years, you start to understand what lasts and what doesn't. Because infrastructure goes through cycles of decay. You have 5-year cycles, 10-year cycles, and 20-year cycles. And what you find is a lot of infrastructure needs major repair or replacement at those intervals. So on a farm or a homestead, they are really hit hard with 10, 20, and 30-year cycles. So for instance, fencing, if you don't install your own fencing, you're really not going to know how to repair it. Now, if you have health issues, that's a different story. But if you're physically capable, the more work you can do for yourself, the more skills you learn. And when you transition into short-term survivability into long-term survival, such as the situation we're in, then it actually is a force multiplier that boosts your survival potential long-term. In many instances in the third world, there's a lot of things that get built and they're not maintained and they just fall into uselessness. You can look at a lot of projects that were done in Brazil, in the rainforest, that are done in the deserts, that are done in the Arctic, that are done all over the world. And once the people that created it stop maintaining it, it just falls apart. And that is the biggest danger in survival, is a lack of knowledge. So the second thing to look at there is trying to buy your way out. Now, people try to substitute purchases and money for skills. So it's a little bit different than what we looked at before, but it's a major issue where people are trying to buy their way out. And eventually the money runs out. And when you look at people selling all these solutions and all the salesmen and the tactical salesmen and the branded crap, that's actually a money maker and a salesman. That's not a survival instructor. That only serves a very limited market. If you look at Steve Quayle, you look at Canadian Prepper, you look at Blackscoutsurvival, what happens is you have a limited high-end market that buys high-end gear, branded gear, and and buys the Bravo Sierra where they think there's something they're not because they bought you crap. What happens is the vast majority of the world population can't afford this junk. So they're left with their long-term survival potential based on skills, improvised expedient construction, and what they can salvage and maintain themselves. So living off the land in reality doesn't mean hunting and fishing only. What that means is using the resources, the timber, the rocks, the soil, and everything that's in the earth in order to increase your survival potential. Now, the downside of this is it's a lot of work. So we get into physical fitness. If you look at, for instance, Blackscoutsurvival and his physical fitness, that is combat agility. That is not the ability to do work on a homestead or build a homestead or build a road, a tower, a water tank. So that's not getting us to where we want to go. There's many types of physical fitness. There is movie physical fitness, where people are building a body for the camera. There's bodybuilding, where they're looking for strength, but it limits mobility and in some cases endurance, because if they can't ingest the calories needed to feed the muscles, they get weak and they can't function. Then you have military type physical fitness, which is designed for young people aged 20 to 30 to do things that would normally not be possible. So it builds endurance, it builds capacity, capability. The problem is most of the people in the survival movement that actually have the money and the skills to do it and lead a group or be a main participant in a group, they don't have that physical fitness because they're too old. So when you get to the 40 to 100 age group, what you're doing is maintaining what you have, and it's more of a health boost in maintaining your health rather than strength and endurance like you would have with a young person. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is your physical fitness needs to be aligned toward life support. So that is medical care, getting the medications you need, maintaining your muscles. It would be good if you can build strength and do some strength training, but your endurance and not losing your health or your capability is a big factor there, because a lot of people, as they grow older, they have injuries that make it hard for them to actually do work. When I was young, I couldn't understand. People would always talk about, well, you know, they couldn't run 100 yards, they can't do this, they can't do that. But see, that's a young man's perspective. That's not somebody that's lived a lot of years. And physical fitness should not be used as a item to eliminate people from a survival group, because in reality, you're going to eliminate most of your resources and most of the knowledge base in your group if you do like trench grenade says, and if you're not tactical, physically fit, you ain't in the group. So don't be a trench grenade. So summarizing this ramble, what we want to do is concentrate on skills rather than purchasing and outsourcing our survival. Because if we build it, we maintain it, we rebuild it, we modify it, and we do 10, 20, and 30-year maintenance on it. That way we can self-correct. If you outsource, you don't have the ability to self-correct because you don't have an intimate knowledge of the infrastructure that's supporting your life. When we talk about the tactical end of things, what's lost on everybody is you got to live long enough to actually reach the battlefront or the front line, right? So if your group in the logistics that support the warrior are not intact, then there is no warrior. So a lot of this hard to kill bullshit is based on a logistics system that is being paid for that nobody recognizes. So a military logistics system is not transferable into survival. We've talked a lot about improvised and expedient construction, road maintenance, making trails, making roads, buildings, trenches, bunkers, all kinds of stuff. And the logistics support is the basis of your survival group being able to defend itself and project power, especially with the drone activity today. And you can go on Amazon and you can buy some lightweight small Chinese drones that are only $39 a piece. So you could actually buy 20 of those, and a group could put mini grenades on them and they would just saturate you. So the drone threat to survival groups and survival is massive. And that's never discussed in these tactical groups. They just show clowns shooting at stuff and it coming down within the detonation range of the munition it would be carrying. So they didn't accomplish anything but entertainment. Now, when we talk about growing food, we've discussed that many times in the past. And when you're growing food and selecting food and purchasing proper supplies, you need to keep in mind that you got to keep all of your people alive, not just the physically fit. Some people have to be on a calorie restricted diet. So if you have people that are diabetic or in bad health, have issues with salt due to heart conditions, you have to take all that into consideration. So when we look at maintaining your actual group, the medical skills, medical supplies, drugs, and also the foods you're ingesting can determine the lifespan of the members of your group. So the last thing I want to talk about, and probably the most important, is life expectancy. Because in the physical fitness discussion by the tactical people, they never discuss life expectancy. Now, when you look at the people that are actually buying prepper material, tactical material, most of them are older people between 40 and 60 years old. Now, I did some AI studies on life expectancy in normal times during SHTF and during long-term survival. And what you find is the average prepper based on age group is between 50 and 65 years old on these channels. So when you look at that demographic, their life expectancy is 7 to 8 years in normal times. So then I asked AI, I said, if we go into SHTF and we don't maintain health based on the maintenance drugs that they normally take, what would life expectancy be? So when we looked at that, you take the absence of maintenance drugs and low quality food, limited food supplies, and then you tie that with strenuous work, the average prepper's life expectancy would be 1 to 3 years in SHTF. That's something they never want to talk to you about, because to correct that, you ignore all of the crap that they're selling and you concentrate on life support, your health, maintaining your body, being work physically fit, and not hurting yourself and preserving your joints, your bones, and your organs. So longevity is really the purpose of survival and prepping, not buying shit. So when we look at long-term survival, the overarching thing that kills everybody is lack of life support. So your infrastructure, the food you eat, your medical care, that's the key. That's what you need to work on. So the final AI study I did on longevity, basically what it said is for a 60-year-old man, your life expectancy could be 7, 8 years in long-term survival if you have sufficient stockpile of maintenance medications and you pace your work. So what that's saying is if you can comfortably do 4 hours of work every day, do that rather than working 10 hours a day and being laid up for a week and then working 10 hours. So not only do you get more done, it's easier on your body. So you have to understand your limitations as you age, because in long-term survival, everybody's going to get old if they make it. So just a few ramblings. Share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.